So, you're all welcome again back to school. I hope you enjoyed your time at home and everything else is fine. So, this class is going to be development of horticultural crops for export. Your lecturer is Dr. Newton. I will be assisting him. There is a TA to this class who has not reported yet. So, as at when the individual reports, you will be introduced to the teaching assistant. I am Ntiri. So, we'll start the class today by getting to know a bit about the course, what we expected to know at the end of the course. Yes, so development of horticultural crops for export. So what we are trying to do is, there's a category in agriculture, as you have been taught since first year. You were introduced to different aspects. You had the animal science, crop science, economics, extension. So this is a part of agriculture as a whole that you've been studying so far. So what we are going to do now is that we are looking at horticultural crops for exports. There are certain crops that fall under horticulture, and we are looking at how we can develop these crops for export. The potential is there. I think Mr. James will take us through some of them. There are lots of crops that we have here that hasn't been developed yet. I'm sure any of you have seen how they transport plantain and our produce. Do you get it? So this course is going to focus first on the identification of the crops. We'll first have to categorize which crops we classify as horticultural crops. After doing that, then we are going to move into the second section, which we'll do with the identification and the development of that particular crop. From that section onwards, we will move into the export of the crop, which will land us on standardizations. There are regulations to everything we do. So we have DBLA who regulates the vehicles in Ghana. So there are different bodies. So we will have to pay attention to, how do I say it, standards, which kind of controls how we do things to be able to meet a particular market. That is when you are exporting these crops after developing them. So that's a bit about the course. We have a course outline. So it starts with horticultural crops, the importance of food standards, and then the value chain, as I stated initially. The major standards: organic, fair trade, certification and inspection, what are crop development protocols, identification. Okay, so let me just take it through this. So I think we all know what horticultural crops are. We'll go through it again. Food standards. We'll see the importance of food standards. Then we'll see the major food standards that we have. Then the importance of certification and inspection. If you are going to export a crop, you want to be sure that whatever it is that you're exporting is good for human consumption. So there's also a regulatory body for that aspect, which will come around and inspect your farms and make sure that you are producing something that is good, and then the consumer is always safe anytime they consume from you. So at that part, we are going to look at the importance of certification and inspection. Then what are the crops development protocols? So they are already established protocols that will be needed to be able to develop a crop to meet a particular standard in different countries. So the identification of promising crops. So can we all see?
Player.
Alright, so here we have listed some few crops that we deemed possible or has the ability to meet the export market. So I'm sure we're all familiar with tiger nuts. Are we all familiar with tiger nuts? Then we have ginger. We know ginger. And turmeric. Who can tell me the difference between turmeric and ginger? Please, can someone tell us the difference between turmeric and then ginger? So she's differentiating turmeric and ginger with the color. So that's very good. They look the same. if you are not careful, you think turmeric is ginger. Unless you taste this and you notice there's a bit of a difference between them, but the color is something you can easily tell. So once you break through it, you should be able to color your plants, and then you know that you have turmeric. We have avocados. We all know avocados. Okay. Alright. Then we have peppers, chilies, cashew nuts, moringa, pineapple, banana, plantain, cassava. So these are just a few crops that have been outlisted depending on their demands and what they can do, and let's say potential markets out there. So it will be our responsibility or a part of the course to be able to individually or in groups identify crops that we deem capable of having export potentials out of these listed ones. So benefits of standards. So what we are going to do is that to be able to understand what standards are, we are going to rely on moringa standards. So we are going to use their criteria for grading it, making sure it's acceptable and then it's good for the international market. So even though we are going to go through moringa standards for this course, we wouldn't have the time to go through maybe onion standards, tiger nut standards and all that. So we are going to use moringa standards as the baseline. So you could use that same procedure to be able to tell you that based on these criteria, I can do what? Apply part of it, or there is also another standard that works for that particular selected crop of interest. So we are going to see the benefits of these standards. So after seeing the importance of the standards, we are going to go to good manufacturing practices. So under good manufacturing practices, we are going to produce a particular produce to be given to for people to consume. So we are looking at or making sure that everything is on point. Everything is on point to be able to meet a particular demand. So we are not, let's say, as we came in here, there are people going around cleaning the place. So all that is part of the good, let me say, good manufacturing practices of the university. Are we all okay on that? So the university puts cleaners in place to make sure that our venues are on point so that we're able to proceed with garments. Another part of the course that we'll go into will be the application of principles for food safety and management systems. So another thing that is very important is the application of the principles. So we need to put out certain safety parameters around so that we make sure that whatever produce that comes out, I'd like to ask a question, who knows Blue Skies? So Blue Skies is like a drink that is produced, I think they are in Salon. So they have principles that they outline, they have certain regulations that they go through, they have a list of activities that make sure that any food or anything that comes out of the factory is good for the consumer. So they base on these principles of food safety. Maybe cover your hair when you're in the factory, don't keep long fingernails. That's something we'll go into details. So it makes sure that anything, any single produce that comes out of the factory is safe for the consumer, and there are regulations to see to that. So a bit about this course will be going through how to register your product. In case you're able to develop your product and you want to get it out there, we're going to go through a few registration requirements, FDA. I think you've heard of FDA, approved by the FDA. Yes, yes. So a bit about this course, it won't go much into details, how to get your registration done, how to get your name, where you can find the offices in Ghana, and then yes, a bit about that, what you need to know, how to get your certificates, certain parameters that you can test out for to make sure that your product is good. So this is a typical one that we have here. Okay, so this is moringa leaf. So you would need a label, you would need a unique name for your product, you would need a dosage. So there are just a few things that you have to highlight on your label to make sure that if someone purchases your product, or merely your sticker goes on it or is branded by you, we are sure that we have this quality coming from this particular company. We can't have anyone having any name. So your name has to be registered with the FDA after approval, where you can go into distribution of your products. Alright, so that will be the first part of this particular course. There is also another part that goes into, just a second. So the second portion of this course will be contract farming. So I'm going to use one example, and then we'll end it here. Mr. James will take up from. I'm just going to do a little introduction on this, and then we'll take it up. So for contract farming, which will be maybe the last thing that we do, as the name suggests, there are different types of farming that is being done. Contract farming is a bit not too complicated. So we are going to take a company like Blue Skies. So Blue Skies is a typical company that deals in fruits and vegetables. They do blends, they do fresh cut fruits. We all know what fresh cut fruits are. Yes. So with these two things that they do, the volume they need to be able to meet their market is so high. So they can't go into the production of these fruits and vegetables. So what they do is they contract a farmer. Do we get it? So Blue Skies manager will come to you and be like, I want maybe 200 or 2,000 pieces of mango every Monday. Are we okay? So then you sit down and then you write a contract, and then you mobilize a place. They will send inspectors over, check your farm and make sure you are producing to their standards. Then they have a truck that comes all the way to your farm and picks the produce. So all you have to do as a farmer is to be able to follow good practices, make sure your fruits are on point, harvest them, and then put it in the truck, and you are done with your work. So there are different types. So that's just a scenario, or that's just a little or a bit about contract farming. That's just one type of it. There are different types of it that goes into how the contract is stated. So with this kind of farm, the one I just explained, where it talks about Blue Skies, sometimes you may be lucky that they may give you the capital to start and do everything. That is acquiring your seedlings, maintaining the plants. You get it? So depending on the kind or the nature of the contract, you may be pre-financed to produce something, or you may finance it by yourself after the transaction is done, and then you'll be given your money, your monies. Anyway, so that's a bit about contract farming. We'll go into the theory and then how it's being done and the different aspects of it. Alright, so that's a bit about introduction for development of horticultural crops for exports. So we'll be taking the course to the next phase. This is the first time this is happening in this course, so lucky for all of us, we have Mr. James Brady around. Yes. So what we are going to do is that he is more into urban food security, growing soilless. I hope you know you can grow plants without soil. How many of us are aware of that? Alright, that's a fair amount, yes. So he doesn't just do growing plants out of the soil. He specializes in also aquaponics. That is, he has this nice way of doing plants at the same time doing some fish in an urban setting. So in your house, you can have some lettuce growing, and then at the same time have some fishes around. So I wouldn't take much of his time. We're going to clap for Mr. James as he takes the podium.